Ho, ho, ho! Six reindeer with letters to Santa Claus get lost in New York City. It's Christmas Eve, so they need to deliver the letters to the North Pole as soon as possible. A red-nosed deer named Rudolph is the strongest, so he should lead the sleigh. But unfortunately, all the deer are sunburned, so now everyone's noses are red. Out of the six, Gilly is the shyest. Tilly jumps the highest. Willie likes to watch Tilly and follow him. Billy prefers to stay close to the ground. Lily and Rudolph are split by one deer, and Rudolph doesn't want to deal with Willie. Which one of them is Rudolph? This is Tilly, followed by Willie. These guys are Billy, Gilly, and Lily. So Rudolph is over here. Welcome to the North Pole. You've just landed in a beautiful Christmas village. Can you spot the real Santa among these six guys? Santa should wear glasses because he has to read a lot of letters every year, so we can exclude everyone except these two options. Among them, only the guy on the left has a tummy, so he's the one we're looking for. You show Santa the lost letters. He's very upset.
No one should stay without gifts. We've got to hurry up.
But Santa's legs hurt after a bad workout. You take him to the hospital and ask the doctor if he could recommend something. What did the doctor give to Santa to help him walk? A candy cane. You're helping Santa's three elves to prepare gifts. They're manufacturing dolls and you're packing them. Suddenly, you find out that one of these elves sabotages the mission. Who's the imposter? Only this elf assembled the doll incorrectly. Its legs are turned out, so he's the evil one. Santa invites you to his sleigh and you hit the road. You leave the North Pole to deliver gifts to all the good children. What direction do you travel? The only direction you can travel from the North Pole is south. On the way, Santa tests your knowledge of Christmas songs. He asks you to turn on the following song. Can you encode its name? It's Jingle Bell Rock. What about this rebus? Can you guess the song? Jingle bells. Let's see if you can crack this one. Let it snow. And the final one. The 12 Days of Christmas. Finally, you reach the first destination. Can you spot anything odd in this house? Take a look at the fireplace. There are bowling pins instead of firewood. What about the next location? Can you see anything wrong? There's no tree trunk. Can you spot anything weird here? This snowman has human eyes. Santa arrives at the mall to meet his fans. During the show, a huge plastic Christmas tree falls down on an elf. Santa calls the ambulance and begins his own investigation. He finds 3 suspects: a guy wearing a Christmas sweater with a big star, a lady wearing a fluffy, sparkly scarf, and a lady with green hair. Who's responsible for the accident? The first guy's sweater may showcase that he's a fan of stars, like the one on top of the tree, but we have no evidence that he really climbed up to get it. The third lady might seem like she's got some pine needles in her hair from climbing the Christmas tree, but remember, the tree is made of plastic, so its needles wouldn't have fallen off that easily. Meanwhile, the second lady's scarf has exactly the same material as the tinsel on the tree, so she's the guilty one. You ask Santa to give you a sports car as a gift for Christmas, but unfortunately, he refuses.
You didn't behave well enough for such an expensive gift, but I can give you a chance. Crack my riddle, and I can give you an even better gift. Huh! If otters keep their money in riverbanks, where does Frosty the Snowman keep his money? He keeps his money in a snowbank.
You crack the riddle, and Santa provides you with 3 boxes. Your task is to choose one of them, but each gift comes with a twist. If you pick wisely, you'll survive and get an unlimited gift card. But if you choose incorrectly, it will be fatal. Option 1. Drink 8 gallons of water from the first tank. Option 2. Put your hands down for 5 minutes in a tank with a venomous snake sleeping in the sand at the bottom. Option 3. For 20 minutes, keep your hands in a water-filled tank occupied by 3 venomous jellyfish with long tentacles. What's your choice? You wouldn't want to drink 8 gallons of water. This amount is fatal for any human being. Contact with venomous jellyfish can also be dangerous. So the second option is the safest. Snakes have no reason to bite you unless you provoke them. Santa needs to crawl through a chimney to deliver some gifts. There are 3 houses. The first chimney is totally covered in snow. The second one has no snow at all. The third one is covered with snow and has a small hole in the center. Only one of them is safe to climb. Can you guess which one? A snowless chimney is a sign of a fire burning below, so we can exclude the second option. There's no wind passing through the first chimney. It's probably sealed up with snow. Santa can get trapped inside it. Only the third chimney is good to go, although don't try this at home. It's reindeer feeding time. Rudolph is starving, but he has very peculiar tastes. There are 3 options: a carrot, a slice of chocolate pie, or some moss from the forest. Santa asks you to pick the best meal for Rudolph. What would you suggest? Rudolph can choke on the carrot, and like many other animals, reindeer will struggle to digest chocolate. The moss is the best option because it's one of the few foods available in the reindeer's natural habitat. You arrive at one last house to deliver the final gift. Unfortunately, Grinch has already been here and ruined all the Christmas decorations in the living room. He's a shapeshifter, so he turned into one of these 3 people. Bob says, "I was cooking a pumpkin pie in the kitchen and watching TV. I didn't hear anything suspicious." Jessica says, I applied my makeup in the bathroom upstairs. I had my earphones in, so I don't know what happened here. And Karen says, we ran out of firewood, so I left the house to bring some. When I returned, the living room was a mess. Can you spot Grinch? Karen. If she really went to get the firewood, where is it? You get rid of Grinch and give a gift to the local family. You can hold it and even shake it, but it's easy to break. It has lots of snow, but it's all fake. What is it? A snow globe. You leave the house and head to Santa's sleigh, but suddenly, Grinch kidnaps you. After a while, you wake up in a prison. You wander around and find 3 doors. The first door is guarded by a fire-breathing dragon. There's a family of evil elves behind the second door. Their magic can turn any human into stone. And there's a wicked witch in a cage behind the third door. Grinch imprisoned her a long time ago, so she's very angry. Which way is more or less safe? The third one. The witch is angry, but not with you, with Grinch. So she'll be happy to help the enemy of her enemy. Also, you'll be able to call for help to rescue her. You escape from Grinch's trap and meet Santa.
Oh ho ho, what a relief! I was so worried.
Suddenly, you spot something weird about his costume. What is it? His right boot is missing a buckle. It's time to say goodbye to Santa. He offers you to crack one last riddle. What is always right in front of you, but you can't see it? Next Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho!
This Christmas, Jake decided to play a game with his sons. He would only give them their Christmas presents if they could win at his game. He would ask them a series of questions, and they would get as many gifts as they answered the riddles correctly. Jake asked his first son, Gabriel, what do snowmen call their offspring? Do you have any idea how to answer this riddle? They call them children. Duh. Then Jake asked his only daughter, Julia, another question. Knock, knock, he said. Who's there? She answered. Tree, Jake said. Tree who? Can you guess the answer to this riddle? It's the Three Wise Men. This one was definitely hard. His kids were doing so good that he decided to switch it up a little. He asked his son Aaron, what do you call a disrespectful reindeer? What's the answer here, huh? Well, let's see. A disrespectful reindeer is a Rudolph. For his last question, he asked all of his offspring together, where do Santa and the elves go to swim? What do you think they answered? The North Pole, of course. On one of his trips, Santa brought with him some delicious walnut cookies. He kept them in a jar, waiting for the perfect moment to eat them. But one day, he got home from a day of work and found that his cookies were gone. He decided to interview his elves to find out who might have eaten his cookies. The first elf told Santa that he was making peppermint swirls with Mrs. Claus all morning. The second elf said he had spent the afternoon making homemade peanut butter for Christmas Day. And the last elf said he spent the day keeping an eye on the reindeer so they wouldn't fly away. Santa immediately knew who had eaten his cookies. How did he know? Take a look at the second elf's tongue. It's completely swollen. Elves are allergic to all types of peanuts, swollen from eating the cookies. Plus, his alibi is fake. If he had spent the day making peanut butter, he would have gone to the elf hospital for sure. At Somerville Middle School, the teachers decided to play a prank on their students to make the holiday season more cheerful. The principal announced on the speaker that there was a robber on the loose. The robber was dressing up as Santa and robbing laptops inside the school property. Students were told to beware. At the end of the school day, 5 students had photographed different people dressed up as Santa around the school. Take a look at the photographs. Can you figure out who the fake thief is? The thief is the second Santa on the left. Take a look at his shoes. They're much bigger than the other shoes. He must be hiding something inside of it. In 3 different parts of the world, 3 Santa Clauses are getting ready for their big night. They're about to leave the comfort of their homes to go and distribute gifts all around the world. Take a good look at the image below. Which Santa isn't ready to leave? He's the one in the middle. He still doesn't have his belt on. He can't leave without his belt. And speaking of spotting the real Santa, take a look at these 2 chimneys. Can you tell who is the real Santa? Take a look. The guy on the left has huge legs, and there's some green fur poking out of his pants. It must be the Grinch. The real Santa is the guy on the right, that's for sure. Daniela is a new detective in town, and there's an urgent case for her to solve. At night, someone robbed a mall and stole all the presents prepared for the winter show. In the morning, the videos from the security cameras were analyzed, and the police found 3 main suspects. All of them were interrogated. Bernard said, "I have nothing to do with it. I came from work yesterday and was watching football until I fell asleep." Samuel said, "Today, in the evening, I was so tired, so I just went to sleep and you woke me up." And Jason said, "I was studying all night for my exam in the afternoon." Who should Daniela arrest? Both Samuel and Jason look very tired, but only Jason has a valid reason for not sleeping. But Samuel called the previous day today by mistake, which means he probably didn't sleep at night and there was no difference for him between the 2 days. It was definitely him. Santa arrived in LA to give out gifts for children in the region. He parked his sleigh on top of a family's home and traveled down their chimney. He left their gifts under the tree and decided to check if the family left some cookies for him to snack on. He found the dinner table set with delicious meals: candy canes, hot chocolate, gingerbread, and a turkey. Can you tell which food doesn't belong at a Christmas table? The turkey. They're usually eaten during Thanksgiving, not Christmas. Well, in some homes. On January 1st, Devin called the police to report a crime. He says he went to his neighbor's New Year's Eve party the night before, and during that time, someone must have broken into his house and stolen his laptop. When the police asked about the party, Devin said it was great. There was good food, and the tree lights in his house were shining brightly and beautifully. Devin added that he thought that his neighbor could have been the one that stole his things. Maybe he snuck inside the house when Devin was at his place having fun. The police officer went next door to interrogate Devin's neighbor, Tom. However, as soon as Tom opened the door, the officer knew he wasn't guilty of the crime and also that Devin was lying. How? Look at Tom's Christmas tree. There are no lights, meaning it was probably not even working on the night before. Devin was lying. He probably just wanted to get some insurance money. 4 Santa Clauses were flying aboard a commercial flight. But just before the aircraft was about to take off, the airline got an anonymous call saying that someone was trying to smuggle illegal goods into the aircraft. So they had to check everyone's bags. Each bag went through the X-ray machine again. The first Santa was carrying an extra pair of wigs, shoes, and costume. The second Santa was carrying shaving cream, a book, and several naughty or nice lists. The third Santa had a stash of money, a laptop, and another wig. And the fourth Santa was carrying a few gifts and some gingerbread. Can you guess which Santa is a criminal? It's the one carrying the shaving cream. Santa never shaves his beard, so he must be hiding something inside it. Jenny ran into her comedian friend on the street during the holiday season, and he was on fire, asking her to answer all of his riddles. The first thing he asked Jenny was, "Why is Santa really good at karate?" "Because he has a black belt." Way to go, Jenny. Then he asked her, "If December 31st is the end of the year, then what is the end of Christmas?" The letter S. Well, that sounded obvious. For his grand question, he asked Jenny, "What do you call a person who is afraid of Santa?" The answer? Claustrophobic. Christmas is just around the corner, but you received a letter saying you didn't make it to Santa's nice list. You were naughty all year long and are not getting any presents unless you prove you are filled with Christmas spirit. Now, what would you say is the best way to do that? Praying, dancing in the middle of the street, or singing Christmas carols? Well, it's definitely the last option. Carols are the best way to spread Christmas cheer. Merry Christmas!
It's Christmas time, and I have fun wintry holiday riddles for you to solve. Let's start with a few optical illusions to train your eyes. First, look at this cubical tree. Which way do the cubes face? Both ways, actually, depending on how you look. Take your time and try to see them facing both ways. And in this illusion, you can see 7 candy canes. What do you say? Are they parallel? The diagonal lines make it way trickier. It definitely doesn't look like the canes are parallel, but they are. If you don't believe me, take a ruler and check for yourself. Another tricky question for you. Which one of the red snowflakes is bigger? A trick question yet again. They are exactly the same size. It's an optical illusion that makes you see them differently. Here's a wrapped present. Is it a present in the corner or a present missing a corner? Again, it can be both. Try to see it. There's the third way. 2 presents, one big and one small, next to each other. Now, how about you try to guess emoji-coded holiday movies? I'll give you a combination of emojis, and all you have to do is guess which movie it represents. Let's go. Here's the first one. A green monster with a dog. That's for sure the one and only Grinch. So the movie is The Grinch. Okay, good job. Here's the next one. Another holiday classic. Yes, it's our favorite, Home Alone. This one's a bit harder, but I think you can crack it. Yes, it's the Nutcracker. It's getting progressively more difficult. Can you figure out what this one is? It's the Polar Express, of course. Have you seen it? How about this one? Does it ring a bell? It's Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. And here's the last one. Do you recognize it? Well, that's pretty straightforward. A holiday elf can only represent another holiday classic, Elf. Okay, now let's play Santa. There are a few teenagers who don't believe in Santa anymore, so they didn't bother writing any letters with their wishes to him. Yet, Santa really wants to bring them gifts. He sends a few of his elves to observe the teenagers and decide which present would make each of them happy. Can you help them figure it out? Okay, here's the first room where Poppy lives. Which gift would be the best for her? It seems she likes beauty contests and makeup, so a makeup kit will be a good fit for her, don't you think? This is Arwen's room. What is the best possible gift for her? Judging from all the posters on her wall, she likes skateboarding. And what is right here in the corner of her room? A broken skateboard! She'd probably love to get a brand new skateboard, so that's for her. The next one on the elves list is James. Here's his room. Is there anything that will help you decide the best gift? He seems to be playing for the school's basketball team. So how about a basketball? Could be nice. The next person is Leah. Here's her room. What do you think Santa should get her? Look around. There's a book by her bed and hundreds of them on the shelves. I bet that Leah is a bookworm, so giving her a bunch of books would be a good idea. The problem is to decide which ones she hasn't read yet. And here's the last person to visit today, Neil. What do you think is a good gift for him? Well, Neil is obviously an artist, so some art supplies would be a go-to for him, right? Okay, great job! How about a few riddles? You can find us both in Harry Potter and in the Lord of the Rings books. Without us, there would be no presents during holidays. Who are we? Elves, of course. 24 doors, each day a surprise. In December's countdown, joy underlies. So what is it? It's an advent calendar. I have two colors. I'm minty yet sweet. So what is it? It's a candy cane. Sugar and spice in walls so sweet. What am I? An edible treat? A gingerbread house. I fall in the winter but never get hurt. What am I? It's snow, of course. And here's the last one of these. You can hold me and even shake me, but I'm easy to break. I have lots of snow, but it's all fake. What am I? And that's a snow globe! It was the winter holiday season, and Esme went for a walk in the forest. Of course, she got lost. Gladly, she found a witch's house, walked in, petted a cat, and asked the witch to take her home. But the witch wouldn't do it for nothing.
I will let you go if you solve a riddle. Look, I've got 4 frogs. Here are the names of the 3 of them: Carol, Eve, and Christina. What is the name of the 4th one? Alice, Jane, or Holly?
Can you help Esme? It seems like all names of the witch's frogs follow the theme of winter holidays. So, I would assume that the name of the 4th one is Holly. This one night a year, Santa Claus leaves his workshop at the North Pole and travels the world to deliver presents. Which direction does he travel first? Santa lives at the North Pole, so whenever he goes, the only way to travel from there is south. It's that one morning of the year, and Emma rushes down to see her presents. But there's also a letter from Santa, and here's what it says.
Dear Emma, you have been relatively good this year, but I can't look past a few not-so-good things you've done. I know you will do better next year. This year, I left you a gift, but you will need to find it. If you open the wrong one, everything will disappear. So be careful. Your gift is wrapped in white paper, doesn't have a red ribbon, and isn't small. Happy holidays, Santa.
Can you help Emma find her present? It's this one right here. White, gold ribbon, and big. Noelle is obsessed with holidays, and every year she wants to do as many Christmas activities as possible. Can you find all holiday-related objects in her house? Let's start with the bedroom. You need to find a gingerbread house, a candy cane, a Grinch costume, some wrapping paper, and paper snowflakes. Here they all are. Have you found them all? Now let's move to the living room. It's messy too, so you need to keep your eyes wide open. Can you find a stocking, a Christmas tree, Christmas lights, a nutcracker, and a poinsettia? There they are. How many have you found? When Mrs. Miller came home from work, she noticed that the presents she had prepared for her daughters were arranged differently. Someone must have sneaked in to look at them. Now she was determined to find out who it was. So she asked her daughters if anyone had been to her room that day. Diana said,
I didn't go there. I was decorating the tree.
Mia said,
And I was busy decorating the house.
Jessica said, I didn't go there either. I was building a snowman outside. Which one of them lied? It was definitely Jessica. There is no snowman outside, and there aren't even any footprints in the backyard, so no one has been there in a while. A similar situation happened with Mrs. Miller's friend, Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones had 3 sons, and she noticed that someone had sneaked in to look at the presents while she had been shopping. Here's what her son said. Jake said, I was busy wrapping presents I got for everyone. Here they are. Noah showed the cookies he made.
I was baking these cookies the whole time and never left the kitchen.
David said, "I was outside shoveling the driveway." Which one of them sneaked in? The presents are indeed wrapped, the cookies are made, and the driveway is really clean. But look, the cookies are burned. If Noah had really been watching them, it wouldn't have happened. He probably sneaked out to look at the presents, and that's why the cookies burned a little. Are you ready for a new logical thinking and attention challenge? Then get your magnifying glass and let's go! Your first task is to help Santa. Which chimney is safe for him to use? The first one seems to be completely blocked, so no oxygen probably flows through it. Might be dangerous. Look at the second chimney. There's no snow on it, which means that the fireplace is working at the moment. Santa should choose the third chimney. It's not fully blocked, but there's some snow on it. So there's no fire in the fireplace at the moment. A man on a motorbike crashed into the window of Mr. Ruby's store, grabbed a dozen of expensive watches, and drove away. When the police arrived, Mr. Ruby told them that he was almost sure it had been his nephew, Patrick. The officers went to visit the guy. Because of a heavy downpour, they got there in only an hour. Patrick was at home, together with his friend. "Look at the weather! I haven't been outside since yesterday!" Patrick's friend confirmed his words. But the police didn't believe his story and arrested Patrick. Why? The guy's helmet is hanging on his motorbike. If it had been there since the previous day, it would be filled with rainwater now. One day, a famous soccer coach went missing right from the changing room. The police had 3 suspects, and all of them were from the coach's team. Brandon said that after the training, he'd stayed on the pitch to practice a bit more. He hadn't been to the changing room yet. Andrew swore that after the training, he had gone outside to meet his girlfriend. And James claimed that when he'd been leaving the changing room, the trainer had been there. Who is behind the disappearance? It's Brandon. He said he hadn't been to the changing room yet, but he's wearing not his uniform, but his street clothes. On a summer night, Emily threw a big party, but in the morning, she discovered that someone had stolen all her jewelry and money. The police have 3 suspects: Daniel, Emily's boyfriend, Lily, her best friend, and Hannah, the girl's sister. Daniel told the police that he'd been playing computer games with his friends all night long. Lily felt sick and went home in the middle of the night. And Hannah said that she'd stayed at the party until 7 a.m. and then taken a taxi. It was too dark to walk home on her own, and nobody could give her a lift. Do you know who's lying? It's Hannah. At 7 a.m. in the summer, it's already light outside. A wealthy businessman disappeared right from his house. The detective who arrived to investigate the case found nothing unusual, except for a mysterious note with 377I3 written on it. There are 3 suspects: Eric, Ellie, and Colin. Help the detective to identify the criminal. The kidnapper is Ellie. Her name is the one coded in the note. One day, Santa got hungry, so he decided to make a stop at the supermarket to get some food. He didn't want to leave his gifts unattended, but he also couldn't bring them inside, so he left his bags near the entrance. Unfortunately, after he paid for his purchases, he discovered someone had taken the gifts. Can you help Santa find the thief? It's the third guy. He's trying to hide the gifts he's stolen. One kingdom was burned to ashes by a magic fire that was impossible to extinguish. The only person who survived was the prince of the kingdom. he decided to travel to the land of witches to figure out who had destroyed his country. There he met 3 witches, gray, brown, and purple.
My kingdom was destroyed by witchcraft. Who did it?
The gray witch answered that at the moment of the attack, she was on vacation in Africa. The brown witch told the prince that she had just returned from India. And the purple witch claimed that she could predict the future and heal people, but she had no power to control fire. Can you figure out which witch is guilty? It's the purple witch. How did she know about the fire if the prince never mentioned it? Mark was wandering through the forest, trying to find a bus station. Suddenly, he met a man who told him that he'd soon see a crossroads. There would be a post with several signboards. The right one will lie, the left one will tell the truth. And indeed, a bit later, Mark saw this post. The right sign said, "To the bus station." And the left one read, "To the forest." Can you figure out where the station is? So the right sign apparently lies, and the left sign will lead Mark back to the forest. He should go straight, and then he'll get to the station. A married couple came back home and found Santa lying unconscious on the floor. They called the police. When police officers arrived, they started interrogating the suspects. Those were the couple's kids. Their 17-year-old daughter claimed she had been on the phone with her boyfriend while her parents had been away. Their twin sons said that they'd gone to bed early to wake up early and unpack their presents. And their youngest daughter answered that she'd wanted to surprise Santa, so she'd been baking cookies for him. Look at all the suspects attentively and say who is guilty. It must be the youngest girl. Look, the cookies have been made with peanuts. Santa must be allergic to these nuts. You go to the supermarket and buy an egg and a chicken. The total cost of your purchase is 108 coins. But the chicken is 100 coins more expensive than the egg. So, how much does the egg cost? My first instinct was to say 8 coins, but 100 minus 8 doesn't give us the 100 coin difference. The egg actually costs 4 coins. Sophia disappeared right from her house, and from a note found in the living room, the police got to know that she had been kidnapped. Detective Peterson, who came to investigate the case, decided to question the woman's neighbors. Anthony told the police that he had worked the night shift. When he came home, he went straight to bed and was only woken up by the detective. Ryan explained that he had planned to organize a barbecue party for all the neighbors, but since it had been raining the whole day, he had to cancel it. Lauren said that she'd been downtown doing some shopping and had just come home. The detective immediately realized who the liar was. Have you figured it out too? Lauren lied. It had been raining all day long, but there are no puddles under her car. It means she hasn't been anywhere. Emma got caught by a witch. The witch locked her in her hut and left. Emma was starving. She found 3 kinds of cookies. Help her figure out which cookies are safe to eat. Look at these sweets. Even though these black dots look like raisins, they're actually little bugs. These white chocolate cookies look delicious, but what are those green stains? Oh no, they must be poisoned. Emma should opt for the cookies with chocolate chips. How do you know that Santa is really good at karate? Because he has a black belt, of course. Are you attentive enough to find the odd Santa? Right you are. It's the one without a belt buckle. The next task is to find the odd deer. This little guy with a red nose. Now, put your detective hat on. You're going to catch a thief. Look at this room attentively and say where the criminal is hiding. Aha! Look at the tree. Do you see a leg? Someone is hiding there. When you were 10 years old, your parents finally revealed the harsh truth to you. Santa is not real. But you refused to accept that and promised yourself that you would find Santa and prove to everyone that he was real when you grew up. But many years passed and you forgot about your promise. One night, right before you fall asleep, you start hearing a jingling sound. You open your eyes and see a snow fairy. She says, "Answer my riddle and receive your letter. What comes with a winter's chill, adorned with lights that give a thrill, has branches dressed in snowy frills, and stands in homes on windowsills?" The answer is a Christmas tree. The snow fairy hands you a red letter and flies away as fast as she can without telling you who it's from. You open it and read, "Dear believer, I know you're wondering who I am. The answer lies in this riddle. I journey forth when stars are bright, in a cloak of night, not a sound in sight. Bringing joy from lands afar, on my sleigh I soar, neath the polar star." Can you figure out who wrote the letter? It's Santa Claus! At that moment, you hear a jingling sound coming from the living room downstairs. You rush there to catch sight of what's causing it and spot an elf waiting for you by the tree with 3 different gift boxes in front of it. It tells you to pick one of them. Which one should you choose? Take a look at the tag attached to the first gift box's ribbon. It says, "Delivered to Thomas Kirtland, age 9. So that belongs to someone else. And notice how the wrapping of the third gift box is damaged from the corners? That could only mean it's already opened. So you should pick the second one. You open your gift box and find a map that shows where Santa lives on the North Pole. You ask the elf, "But how am I supposed to get there?" The elf says, "The answer to your question lies within this riddle. Leading the pack with a light so rare, my shiny beacon cuts through the air. In fog or blizzard, I steer clear. Name me, I'm the sleigh's bright pioneer." Can you tell what that is? The answer is none other than Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Rudolph flies you to Santa's house on the North Pole. But as soon as you land, you realize that you made one huge mistake that might put you and this whole mission into danger. What is that? You didn't get a coat, a beanie, or a scarf to keep yourself warm. Fortunately, you spot Santa Claus's house right in front of you and run there to get warm. But something you see makes you suspicious. What is that? The door to Santa's house is open even though there's a snow blizzard outside. That doesn't seem normal at all. You hesitantly enter the house and start hearing screaming coming from the end of the hallway. You rush there to check what's going on and find out that there's a door. Unfortunately, it's locked with a 3-digit password padlock. Behind the door is Mrs. Claus asking for your help to free her. Luckily, there are clues around the place about the password. Can you spot them and unlock the door? The first clue is here. A traditional advent calendar is hanging on the wall with only one window open, showing the number 3. This is the first digit. The second clue is right here. A string of jingle bells hangs above the fireplace. There are 6 bells in total. So that's the second digit. And the last clue is here on the shelf. Take a look at this snow globe. Inside it, there's a tiny statue of number 4. And that's the last digit. Once you free Mrs. Claus, she explains to you that the original Santa has been tied up for many days now in the North Pole prison, while the evil Krampus pretended to be him. She hands you a magic key and asks for your help to save him and the holiday. So you set off to this prison, with the right clothes this time. You spot the scary building ahead, and there are 3 different ways that will lead you there. Which one should you choose? A. The icy tunnel. B. The frozen forest. Or C. The snowy bridge.
Uh-oh.
The tunnel is filled with sharp icicles that can collapse at any time. That's dangerous. As for the forest, do you hear the distant growls of wild animals coming from there? Better not risk encountering them. You should pick the bridge because notice the footprints on the snow across it? That indicates someone just used it recently, suggesting that it's good to go. There are 3 prison cells inside the building, and inside each of them, there is one Santa look-alike. 2 of those people are imposters, and one of them is the original Santa. However, you have only one chance because the magic key Mrs. Claus gave you before will break after a single use.
Uh-oh.
You must free the real Santa and save the holiday once and for all. Which door do you open? The Santa behind the second door wears a pair of round spectacles. While he fits the image of Santa, his spectacles don't have any lenses in them, which suggests they're more for show than for use. As for Santa behind the third door, do you notice how his beard slightly shifts when he moves? So, it's just a well-made fake. So you should free the Santa behind the first door. Congrats! You just saved Christmas. And hey, Santa is real indeed. Johnny and his family arranged a photo shoot to prepare this year's Happy Holiday card. The photographer took 3 photos of them. But when they checked them, there was something weird in all of the photos. Take a look at the first photo they took in the living room. Can you tell me what's weird here? You can see from the window that it's not snowing outside. But check the mirror on the wall here. You can see snow on the reflection of the window. Now, look at the photo they took in the backyard of the house. What's strange here? Take a look at the chimney on the roof. Something's stuck there. It's Santa's gift bag. Here's the final photo they took in the dining room. What's odd here? Take a look at the long velvet curtains here. Someone's hiding behind them, but they didn't do a good job. You can see their feet sticking out. Let's just hope it's Santa. Janine's boss was leaving the town for the winter holiday, and she wanted Janine to take care of her mansion while she was gone. Before leaving, she mentioned a security code, which once entered into the system would activate an electrified gate to keep out intruders. During a snowstorm, Janine noticed burglars approaching the mansion, but realized she had forgotten the code.
Oh no!
Luckily, her boss also left her a clue which read, "When trees are bare and skies are gray, nights lengthen to outlast the day." In this time, the cold winds whisper, "What brings this frosty, chilling picture?" The answer is the season of winter, so Janine needs to enter the word winter on the digital control pad. Nellie, Peter, and Orly rented a country house to celebrate the holiday season together. Unfortunately, the owner of the place forgot the presents he got for his family inside. But when he came back to get them, there were no presents. Assuming they got stolen, he called the police. Once she arrived, she asked all three friends what they were doing when the robbery took place. Nellie said she was watching the TV in the bedroom. It was so loud that she didn't hear anything. Orly said she was decorating the Christmas tree with the ball ornaments in her hand. And Peter said he was building a snowman outside and didn't know what was going on in the house. Can you tell who's lying? Orly is lying. There are no balls on the tree. You've definitely seen all of these places on the screen during at least one holiday season, but would you recognize them in real life? Let's start with some easy ones for a warm-up. The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree has enough lights for a small country, and it has starred in more than one movie. So in this one, there's an adventurous young man separated from his family. I guess you got me at separated. It's Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. This movie is packed with real-life locks in the Big Apple. Queensboro Bridge, Plaza Hotel, Radio City Music Hall, the Empire Diner, the Woolman Rink, and the Bethesda Fountain in Central Park are all real. Don't look for Duncan's toy chest in the city, though. The facade used in the movie is actually the Rookery Building in Chicago. Kevin's uncle's house has a New York address in the movie, but in reality is a building in Universal Studios in Los Angeles. Alright, let's move on to our second location. Here's a hint for you. This building is an upscale department store in London. I hope you guessed, it's Selfridges. And this is where one of the most famous scenes from Love Actually takes place, where Mr. Bean carefully wraps Alan Rickman's purchase at the jewelry counter. They say the founder of Selfridges coined the phrase, "the customer is always right." So I guess he wouldn't have liked Mr. Bean's work. While we're in this part of the world, how about a brief visit to Durham Cathedral? Does it look familiar to you? Anyone who has used the holiday season as an excuse to watch Harry Potter again will recognize this building. In the first movie, it played the part of Hogwarts on multiple occasions. Here, Harry releases his owl Hedwig, and Hagrid talks to the famous trio. In the second part, it's the place where Professor McGonagall teaches students to change animals into water goblets. How about this location? I know it's impossible to trick you. It's Harry Potter again. Alnwick Castle in Northumberland in northern England is the place where Harry and others learn to fly broomsticks for the first time. You can visit this place as it often has events and has some cool exhibits related to the saga. This house looks too good to be real, but it is. Do you remember seeing it in any holiday classic? It's Ralphie's house from A Christmas Story. You can visit it any time of the year in Cleveland, Ohio, and even stay overnight. There's also a museum across the street with costumes and memorabilia from the movie and rare behind-the-scenes photos. Moving on, does this location ring a bell? If you've seen it once, you'll never forget it. It's a Wonderful Life is one of the holiday classics. It was set in a fictional town in upstate New York and filmed in a movie studio in sunny Los Angeles. But a town called Seneca Falls claims to be the real-life prototype of Bedford Falls. It has a similar location, houses, downtown, and of course, the iconic bridge where it all begins. The director had a family in the area, so they say he stopped here for a haircut while working on the movie. If you're craving some holiday magic, you can visit It's a Wonderful Life Museum in the former movie theater. Let's make things a little bit harder, shall we? Do you recognize this beautiful house? Well, it doesn't scream winter because it's a luxurious mansion in Southern California that became famous after The Holiday. The villa where Cameron Diaz's character lives was designed by a famous architect, Wallace Neff, as his own house in the late 1920s. It was built in the Mediterranean style and has a lot of beautiful details. But you don't see them in the movie because the interiors were on a separate soundstage. Several years ago, the mansion was on the market for around $12 million. This village looks like it comes straight from a fairy tale, but it's real, and you will easily remember it if you've seen this holiday classic. Did you get my hint? The Holiday Classic. Yep, it's the village where the second main character of the beautiful love story lives. You won't find Iris's house here because even the exterior was built for the movie. But the village itself is probably the most photographed place in Surrey, England, and it's called Sheer. It has some small shops, a tea house, a museum, an art gallery, 2 pubs, an old church, and the cutest old footbridge across the stream running through the center of the village. They had to cover the whole place in artificial snow to make it look like an idyllic December. Okay, I know you know what this building is, but what famous scene from which holiday movie was filmed inside its elevator? Yep, I think I gave it away when I said elevator. It's Elf, of course. The ever-awesome story of a human who was raised amongst elves at the North Pole, but eventually found his way to New York. I have to disappoint you though. There aren't really that many buttons inside the cabin, and they don't look like a Christmas tree. This landscape looks nothing like December, but the movie in question features some awkward family lunches and ugly sweaters, so trust me, it belongs here. Are you ready for the big reveal? It's Bridget Jones's diary. Stoke Park is where the bad guy, Daniel Cleaver, took Bridget for a weekend. The estate has more than 900 years of history, and it also starred in 2 James Bond movies. Wow, I wish I could teleport to this location right now. But whom would I meet there? Well, this is Bohemian Switzerland in Czechia, and you'd meet Lucy, Edmund, Susan, and Peter there. All the famous characters of the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. They filmed the summer scenes in New Zealand, and this place played the role of the Winter Wonderland. Shopping for gifts can be a tiring experience, especially when you do it at the huge Mall of America. Can you remember the characters in which movie chose this place for their last-minute holiday shopping? Jingle All the Way shows us the commercial side of the holiday season. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad are 2 fathers who have one mission: to get a Turbo Man action figure for their offspring. The largest mall in the Western Hemisphere seems like the best place for that purchase. And while we're on the topic of malls, can something be more about holiday shopping than the giant Macy's flagship in New York? The characters of this movie know it well. I'm sure you had no problem guessing it was the good old classic Miracle on 34th Street. You can still ride the original wooden escalators and meet Santa on the 8th floor. They say Macy's didn't want anything to do with the remake of the movie, so the C.F. Kohl's department store from the newer version is the facade of the State of Illinois building in Chicago. Now let's see how well you know the more recent Christmas movies. This beautiful garden appears in one heartbreaking festive season story. Can you name it? The Phoenix Garden is a community garden in Covent Garden, London, and this is where Kate from Last Christmas realizes the scary truth about the guy she's in love with. Wow, that is one festive place. Do you remember it from any movie? It's the Princess Switch, where the Duchess of Montenaro switches places with an ordinary woman from Chicago. Montenaro is not a real place, but its royal palace is. It's Hopeton House near Edinburgh, and it's been home to the Hope family since the late 17th century. It should reopen for visitors in the spring of 2024 after a reconstruction in case you want to stop by. How many locations did you get right? Let me know in the comments below. The holiday season is coming, but criminals are still busy with their evil deeds. Your help is needed. Get your magnifying glass and let's make Christmas merry again. A man was walking along the road heading for a resort town. At one point, he saw a weird scene. Santa was standing on the side of the road. His sleigh had apparently spun out and ended up in a ditch. The man approached Santa to find out what exactly had happened. It turned out Santa had gone out to test his brand new reindeer-free electric sleigh. But suddenly, the Grinch on skis appeared right in front of the sleigh. So Santa had to make a sharp turn. And that's how his sleigh ended up in a ditch. Surprisingly, the man didn't believe Santa. Why? Look closely at the trail left by the sleigh. You can see that first the sleigh turned sharply, and only after that did a skier pass there. The Grinch is not guilty in this case. Most likely, Santa just lost control and now wants to frame the green guy. Santa needs to deliver some gifts, but not all chimneys are safe for him. Can you help Santa figure out which chimney he should pick? The first chimney seems to be fully blocked and no air flows through it. All snow and ice have melted on the second chimney. The fireplace must be working there. As for the third chimney, it's open enough for oxygen to flow through, but the snow hasn't melted completely, which means the fireplace is off. The Grinch wants to change himself to be part of the celebrations instead of hating Christmas. The only problem is that his body isn't cut out for Christmas cheer. He's come to Santa to ask for help. Which part of the Grinch's body needs to be modified the most to fix his anti-Christmas sentiment? His chest is where the problem lies, so we'd better swap that heart out for a bigger one, bursting with Christmas joy. Rudolph the reindeer went missing, and this put the whole Christmas at risk since children wouldn't receive any presents. Santa only knew that Rudolph had gone to the supermarket to get the products for Christmas pudding. The news quickly spread on TV, and 3 witnesses appeared. Judy said that the night before, she'd been passing by an ice cream stand on Palm Street and had seen someone grabbing a reindeer and putting it in a truck. But at that time, she didn't think it could be Rudolph. Philip claimed that he had seen a baby reindeer in a parking lot near a supermarket. The animal was eating hay together with a pony. A man in a jacket approached the animals and they all left. And Kira said that at night, she had seen a reindeer being grabbed by a man and taken away in a black car. Can you figure out who actually witnessed Rudolph's abduction? It was Kira. Rudolph didn't go out to get an ice cream, neither was he a baby reindeer. So what Kira saw seems to be the closest to the truth. Look at this battle. What do you think? Who isn't going to survive it? Everyone will survive. It's just arm wrestling. Almost all the presents have been stolen from Santa's factory. It all happened in the last couple of hours. The weather was nasty. There was snow on the ground and a light rain was falling. The suspects have been narrowed to 3 elves. Each of them claims to have been at home the entire time. As the roads are too dangerous to navigate on foot, the elves can only get around on their sleighs. Can you guess who has taken the presents? It was elf number 2. The first sleigh is damaged. and there's a lot of snow on the third one. It's unlikely someone's been using it recently. As for the second elf sleigh, there is some ice under it, which means that he's recently left the house. While he was away, the rain fell on the snowless ground where the sleigh had previously been parked. And now, this spot is frozen into ice. Let's move to the North Pole. Someone has been stealing Santa's cookies, which he keeps in the reindeer stables. Santa suspects that the criminal is one of his elves who work there, but he's also worried because all of them are allergic to chocolate, and the disappearing cookies are chocolate chip ones. Detective Robinson gathers all the elves in one room. One of them keeps sticking out his tongue and then blushing and apologizing. The second elf has traces of something brown on his hands, and the third elf keeps smiling and giggling. Look at them attentively and try to figure out which one is the thief. The guy with brownish spots on his fingers works in the stables, so no wonder his hands are dirty. Elves are cheerful creatures, which means that a smiling and giggling elf is not actually an unusual occurrence. But the first elf, his tongue is likely swollen as a result of an allergic reaction. Here's our cookie thief. I'm a cookie you might eat, and some might say I'm a flavored Christmas treat. I have brown arms and eyes, and don't forget my feet. What am I? I'm a gingerbread man. After accidentally falling out of his sleigh, Santa had problems with his leg. It hurt to walk, so he went to see the doctor. What did the specialist give Santa to help him walk? A candy cane, of course! 3 teenagers sneak into Santa's home. When he comes home after work, he sees 3 guilty-looking kids and his tall plastic Christmas tree lying on the floor. Santa knows that one of the kids must have climbed the tree, which made it fall over. He calls the police. After looking at the kids attentively, a police officer tells Santa who is guilty. Can you figure it out too? This guy with green hair looks as if he has some Christmas tree needles in his hair. But don't forget that the tree is plastic and can't lose any needles. The guy on the left has a star on his sweater that looks like the one at the top of the tree. But look, it's embroidered. Now look at this girl with a pretty sparkly scarf. It looks suspiciously similar to tinsel decorating the Christmas tree. That's because it is tinsel. Busted! Where can you find Santa's reindeer? It depends on where you left them. Santa called Detective Chris Mallet and asked him to go to a haunted gingerbread house and face one of 3 horrifying monsters. They had taken up residence in Santa's tasty but currently unapproachable cabin. Chris's potential opponents are a giant reanimated Christmas turkey. It's threatening the detective with knives and looks extremely unfriendly. A scorching hot eggnog monster that looks like a moving pile of slime. Or a menacing-looking huge candy cane creature with long, sharp limbs. Help the detective make the right choice. The turkey can be very dangerous with those knives. The candy cane's monster's limbs are too sharp to come close to it. As for eggnog, besides being very hot, it doesn't pose any serious danger. The detective just needs to push the monster towards a gingerbread wall, and it'll absorb the creature very fast. On Christmas Eve, Santa leaves his workshop located at the North Pole to deliver gifts to good children. In what direction does he travel? In the south direction. It's the only direction you can travel from the North Pole. I could keep a giant's foot warm, and people look forward to finding me near the fireplace. What am I? I'm a Christmas stocking. What does the gingerbread man put on his bed instead of a blanket? He uses a cookie sheet. He is a man during the winter, but you might drink him during the summer. Who is he? A snowman. And finally, let's have some fun. Who says, "Oh, oh, oh"? Santa walking backwards.
Okay, sharpen your brain, and here we go. Look at these two girls who got in trouble in the savannah. Who is in bigger danger? The girl on the right is definitely in bigger trouble. There's a whole zeal of zebras running toward her. As for the girl on the left, she's in less of a trouble. Even though a huge elephant is speeding towards her, she can hide behind this large stone. Detective Liam was invited to investigate a strange case. James, an extravagant yet very selfish man, got robbed the other day. The case seemed hopeless, yet there was a small clue, a cryptic note left at the crime scene. S+1, D+1, C+1. The next day, 3 suspects were delivered to the police station. Their names were Ted, Sam, and Don. Once the detectives saw their names, it became obvious who the robber was. Can you guess who it was? It's Ted. All you need to do to decipher this code is to use the alphabet. At an elite party, waiters were serving drinks and snacks to all the guests. 2 aspiring actresses, Jill and Jane, had cocktails too. The next day, Jane showed up in an audition while Jill was in a hospital with doctors fighting for her life. Why? If you were attentive enough, you noticed that even though both girls had the same drinks, Jane didn't have any ice in hers, so the poison must have been in the ice. One day, Andrew and Alex decided to jump with a parachute for fun. However, for one of them, this might be their last day on Earth. Who's in danger? It's Alex. Look, he's got no parachute. It's just a backpack. However, if the guys notice it, Alex can still be saved. He needs to hold on to Andrew tightly to land safely. A group of friends, Louis, Jessica, and Albert, went hiking. Dusk was falling rapidly, and they decided to start a fire and have their late-night dinner. But once the flames lit the dark, it became obvious that one of them was a monster. Did you spot the intruder? It's surely Jessica. No human being can have those cat eyes. 3 friends, Max, Mark, and Mick, went to a fancy new restaurant to try out some cool dishes a mysterious chef had cooked. Everyone loved the food, but oops, the next day, Max and Mark passed away in a hospital. The doctor said the 2 guys had severe food poisoning, and there was nothing they could do to save them. Now, look at the footage from the restaurant. Why did Mick survive? Apparently, poisoned tomatoes took the lives of the two friends. Look, Mick doesn't have this ingredient in his food. Now imagine waking up in a weird cage and seeing 3 doors in front of you. There's nothing horrendous waiting for you behind those doors, but the handles don't really inspire you. The thing is, the handle of the first door is covered with some nasty, probably toxic or radioactive ooze. The second handle is literally on fire. The third one has some super high voltage running through it. Which one should you choose? Hey, look, there are rubber gloves in the corner and you're wearing rubber boots. This might not help against ooze and fire, but it can definitely save you from high voltage. Pick the third door. Let's put your math skills to the test. Don't worry, it's easy peasy. When all birds landed one on each tree, one bird was left without a tree to sit on. But when 2 birds landed on one tree, there was one tree left vacant. How many trees were there? There were 4 birds and 3 trees. Now, my dear detective, we're going to test not your sharp eyes, but your logic. So, the poor have it, the rich need it, and if you eat it, you're going to surely pass away. What's that? It's nothing. The poor have nothing, the rich need nothing, and if you eat nothing, there's no chance you're going to survive for long. Jane and John Doe were an ordinary young couple. One day, they decided to go out of town and spend some time in nature, so they jumped into a car. While they were driving, they suddenly saw 4 people hitchhiking at a gas station, but most of them looked pretty suspicious. There was a man in tattered clothes, a woman wearing a cape, a man with a sullen face, and a teenage girl. Who should they give a ride to? Look, the woman in the cape doesn't cast a shadow. She must be a vampire. The man with the sullen face has a vampire bite on his neck, so he's now a vampire too. The teenage girl has suspicious claws, so she must be a werewolf. Thus, the man in tattered clothes is the only one who doesn't seem to be dangerous. 3 friends fell asleep under a tree in the countryside. While they were resting, a guy passing by painted mustaches on their faces. Once the men woke up, they started to laugh, but then, all of a sudden, they stopped. Why? At first, they saw the mustaches on their friends' faces and found it funny. But then, they realized their friends were laughing too. It meant that they had mustaches on their faces as well. On a rainy evening, Mary came home and found that someone had eaten her chocolate bar. Well, she asked her siblings who had done that. Jane said she had been working out in her room and she didn't even eat sweets. Ingrid said that she would never eat somebody else's chocolate. Jessica said that she had been outside watering plants in the garden. She'd just come home herself. Who lied? I'd say it was Jessica. It was raining outside, so she didn't really need to water the plants. One day, Detective Brightbrain was called to the airport, where an angry passenger demanded immediate compensation for stolen luggage. The angry passenger said that he had bought a plane ticket to the city of Chicago. He checked his 15-pound bag, but when he got it back, it was light as a feather. He claimed that there had been valuable things in the bag: a laptop, a ring, and a watch. He opened it right at the counter, and it was empty. While the man was waving his arms and shouting at the counter, a bag fell out of his pocket. The detective picked it up and immediately realized that the passenger was a liar. How did he guess? Well, let's just say the bag wasn't exactly filled with gold coins or anything. It was a bag of dry ice. The scandalous passenger had no valuables. He had just put several blocks of dry ice in the suitcase and deliberately left the zipper slightly open. During the long flight, the contents simply evaporated, leaving no traces. The swindler only needed to pretend to be indignant and demand compensation. You find yourself trapped in a medieval castle, far away from civilization. You can't jump out the window because it's too high above the ground. The only tree growing near the window doesn't look sturdy enough for you to use it to climb down. However, there are 3 doors, and one of them can lead you to freedom. But behind the first door, a fierce fire is raging. The second door holds back hundreds of venomous snakes. And behind the third door, there's a pitch-dark maze, and you can only imagine what surprises are waiting for you there. Which door should you choose? The third. You'll just need to break off a tree branch, turn it into a torch by lighting it in the first room, and go through the maze. It won't be dark anymore. 2 houses are on fire. One of them belongs to Jack, who is poor. Another one is a luxurious mansion that belongs to James. Which fire will the police extinguish first? Well, the police don't extinguish the fire. The firefighters do. Somebody call them, please. Harry wakes up inside a simulated reality. An AI voice tells him that he needs to complete a series of tasks in order to get back to his normal life. 3 doors are projected in front of him. The first has a huge hammer that smashes anything that passes by it. The second door leads to a corridor filled with electric pipes. And behind the third door, there's broken glass all over the place. He has 2 seconds to choose one of the doors. Which one should he pick? He should choose the third door. Since he's wearing shoes, he'll be all right. He goes through that door and ends up in a cage. Inside, there are 3 rescue buttons. The red button will open the cage immediately, but it also simultaneously opens a cage with a hungry lion. The blue one will open the cage in 10 minutes, but it will also open hundreds of water pipes. The orange button will open the cage in 5 minutes, but it will also set the place on fire. Which of the buttons should he press? He should press the blue one. I mean, since it's a cage, it won't fill up with water. As soon as his cage opens, he is free to swim away. Then he finds himself at a crossroads. There are 3 different paths, and he needs to figure out which one to take. The first path is filled with smoking coal. The second path has frozen ice all over it. And the third path has pretty sharp nails. Which one should he choose? He should definitely choose the middle path. Even if the ice doesn't melt during daytime, it's pretty easy to go through it. It looks like Harry is doing pretty well, so the AI controlling the game decides to make the task a bit more difficult. It projects a scene where Harry is now in a hotel lobby. He has to figure out which of the lobby guys won't help him with his luggage. It's definitely the guy in the middle. If you look closely, the guy is transparent, which means he's probably a ghost. He can't touch physical stuff, so he won't be able to help Harry. Suddenly, the weekend in this virtual reality, and Harry is taken to a cabin in the mountains. There are 4 friends waiting for his arrival. They have a fun time, but at the end of the weekend, the cabin catches fire. One of his friends did it. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who did it? It's the third guy to the right. He has a tiny gasoline bottle hanging from his belt. Harry suddenly appears in what looks like a wedding ceremony and discovers he's the one getting married. Two women appear in front of him. They are dressed the same, but they both have their faces covered with veils. He needs to figure out who his true bride is. Can you help him out here? They look identical, but one of them already has a wedding ring. This can only mean that his true bride is the other lucky gal. For his next challenge, he's taken to a restaurant where a waitress shows him 4 glasses. Each glass is filled with the same liquid, water, and has an object inside of it. The waitress asks Harry which glass has more water than the rest. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out the correct answer? This shouldn't be too hard. The last glass is the one that has more water inside. The paperclip weighs almost nothing, while the other objects are way heavier. This means there is less water in all the other glasses. Harry's doing great thanks to you. Now, look at this image. There are 3 people about to parachute out of an airplane. Help Harry figure out who is in graver danger here. It's the first 2 people. You see, there's a heavy bottle in the last guy's backpack. If it falls down, it can break the other's parachutes. Uh-oh. Harry's stomach starts to growl after so much hard work, so he asks for some food. The AI controlling the game decides to create 2 chefs to bake him 2 different cakes. But here's the catch. Only one is safe to eat. Take a look at both of these delicious-looking cakes. Which one is safe? If you have a sharp eye, you'll know that the chef on the left is a fake, so you shouldn't eat his cake. The left chef has stains all over his shirt that look like blood. Plus, he doesn't have a badge on his shirt. He has a scratch over his eye, and he's hiding a syringe in his hand behind his back. There are just too many red flags here. Harry should go for the cake on the right. Well, it's time to take a nap, and Harry is taken to an old house. There are 3 rooms for him to choose from. Take a look at the picture. Which one should he choose? Well, so you see the hidden scenarios behind the curtains in the first room? That's a big no-no. As for the third room, notice how the AC is set to cold even though it's snowing outside. No to that, so he should definitely pick the second room. To sweeten things up a bit, Harry was enrolled into a baking competition. He was introduced to 3 judges, and they each told Harry what their favorite cake was. The first judge expressed his love for chocolate pies. Judge number 2 said he loved berry pies more than anything in the world. And Judge 3 said he was fond of pecan pies, also pronounced pecan. Harry immediately knew one of them was lying. Can you tell who? It was judge number 2. Do you see the chocolate stains and pie crumbles on the second judge's shirt? That could only mean he was enjoying a slice of chocolate pie before arriving at the competition venue. Harry needs to enter a new realm of the game, and for that, he needs to go through what looks like an airport. He didn't have any luggage with him, but he still needed to go through a security check. He went through the scanner, but he beeped every time he passed through it. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out what was making him beep so much? It was the necklace chain dangling from the pocket of his jacket. Good eye if you spotted that. Passing through the different realms, Harry spotted a nice bakery and decided to stop for some more nourishment. There were 3 options to choose from: a cupcake, a chocolate croissant, and a gingerbread cookie. Can you guess which one he picked? You don't need to be a genius to see that Harry is using gingerbread cookie socks. He loves them so much, which is why that's his usual pick. Harry arrived at the gate of the new realm, and there were 2 creatures guarding it, a lion and a unicorn. There was a little sign saying that the lion lied on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and that the unicorn lied on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Harry asked to get inside, and the lion said he needed to answer one of the riddles. He told Harry that he lied yesterday, and the unicorn said he also lied yesterday. Can you help Harry figure out which day of the week was yesterday? Well, let's see how this works. From what the magical creature said, they were both lying on the same day. So the only possible answer to this riddle is Saturday. If we consider yesterday was Saturday, that means the lion was telling the truth and the unicorn was lying. Finally, Harry completed all of his tasks and was allowed to go back home. Which of the 3 doors should Harry choose to get back home? Well, let's see. He should choose the door in the middle. It has a house emoji on it, which will probably take Harry directly back to the comfort of his home. A super wealthy businessman, Mr. Carl Jenkins, has been taken and left locked up all alone in a dark room. His phone's almost run out of charge, so he can only write one message. He knows that someone might spy on his phone, so he decided to write a message with a code to a high school friend, John Smith, who runs a detective agency. He remembered that in high school, they would cipher messages to each other, so he used the same technique. The message was this. Can you guess what it means? Back in high school, they would shift one letter to the right each time they needed to write a secret code. To decipher it, you need to go one letter to the left. Their alphabet looks like this. The message is, "It was Eric." Having read the message, John knew immediately who his friend was talking about. Eric is the financial director of Carl's company. He had seen him once at a party a couple of years ago, so he knew what he looked like. John decided to investigate this case himself and help his friend out. He was sure there was something secret in Carl's mansion. Somehow he thought he knew that Eric would have the key to the mansion. The receptionist, Kelly, said he would always have lunch with different business partners at 2 p.m. sharp in his favorite cafe. When the detective drove up to the cafe, he saw Eric, the man with a beard, discussing business with someone. Either of them had a briefcase next to them, and the briefcases looked similar to each other. John was waiting for Eric and the second guy to leave the cafe. They went to the car, got in, and left both briefcases on the back seat. The detective followed them. They left the car in a parking lot, and luckily, they were careless enough to leave the car open. Which briefcase should the detective grab? The one that looks brand new. While they were walking to the car, the detective spotted a few scratches on the second man's briefcase. Both briefcases were locked with a cipher. Not to make the whole thing suspicious, the detective decided not to take it and cracked the code right in the car. Can you help him open the briefcase? The code is 000. The briefcase is brand new, and Eric probably didn't have time to set a code on it yet. Plus, Eric's the one who leaves the car open and unattended in a parking lot, so no wonder he uses a default code for his briefcase. Now that the detective has the key, he heads to the mansion. The front door isn't a problem with the key in hand. The study is upstairs. He's been there before, so he remembers the stairs leading up have a secret. If you step on the wrong stair, you'll instantly fall to the basement and won't be able to escape from it yourself. What step should John mind? It's the one with the slit in the middle. When you step on it, it opens and you get into a dark room with bats and spiders. Yikes! Alright, John is finally at the study door, and Carl would always use buttons to open it. You've got only one try. There are 3 buttons, yellow, green, and blue. Which one should the detective choose if he knows that Carl is a big fan of painting? A combination of blue and yellow gives green, so the door opens. Green light for our detective. He finally reaches the safe with top-secret documents that could help him find out the truth. Obviously, just like any other safe, it's locked with a code. It also has a warning. You can enter the code only once. If you hit the wrong code, the safe locks up forever. He's looking around for a hint, and voila! John is right. On the desk, he sees a note. It says, "Secret code," and has a combination of 3 digits, 3, something, and 1. The digit in the middle can't be seen since there's an ink stain right on it. Can you crack the code with one attempt only? The code is 371. The detective thought the code was used frequently, so the button must have been a bit worn out. He was right. Since he knew the beginning and the end, he only needed to find one more worn button. Alright, now he's got the top-secret documents he needed for his investigation. He looks through all the papers and finally finds something that looks like the document he actually needed. To take it as a hard proof, he needs to find one which is not fake. There are 4 copies. They look almost the same, but only one is real. Can you guess which one? It's the one in the upper left corner. It has a stamp, a signature, and it says agreement. The one next to it looks the same, but it has a spelling mistake. It says agreement. Other copies lack either a stamp or a signature. So the detective takes a closer look at this agreement and sees something about a painting bought in an auction. He suddenly understands that his friend Carl was taken so that someone could sneak into his mansion and grab that super expensive painting. He's looking at the wall with all the paintings Carl collected and realizes that no painting is missing. There are as many nails in the wall as there are paintings. Still, there's something strange about one of them. Can you spot what's wrong here? Even though all the paintings are present, there's one that lacks a frame. According to the agreement, the painting has been recently bought, and an art dealer helped Carl pick it. The expert was an honest man, and he helped Carl make sure all the other paintings in his collection were real. This time, the painting turned out to be nothing but a copy. Why did the expert suggest that Carl buy it? Although the painting cost nothing, its frame was a beautiful and expensive piece of art. The one who grabbed it definitely knew that. Now it's all clear. John has to find both Carl and the precious frame. He goes outside, trying to deduce where the person who took Carl went. Carl is looking at all the tracks on the ground. He needs to follow one of them to understand where to look for Carl. Where should he go? He's got to follow the tracks going to the left. There are 3 sets of tracks here. The first belonged to John's car. The second set belongs to a 2-wheel vehicle, and since the tracks are really thin, they were left by a bike. It seems impossible to take someone somewhere on a bike, so these must belong to a mail carrier who comes every day to bring the letters. The last set of tracks definitely belongs to a large car, so John should follow it. He's lucky and there are no turns, so he's just going straight. Half an hour later, he sees something like a castle. He drives up to it and he sees 3 moats in front of him. Here's the first one, a row full of metal stakes. How can John jump over it safely? There's a small hot air balloon nearby. John has to untie it and light the lamp to take off. Since the next moat is on fire, John thinks it's unsafe to fly over it because the air balloon doesn't fly high enough and the lamp doesn't have enough oil to go on for long. Still, he managed to cross the moat with fire easily. How did he do it? He took the sand from the air balloon's ballast and sprinkled it on the fire, extinguishing it. The last moat was filled with scalding hot lava. It took John some time to figure out how to cross it, but he managed to do it safely. How? There were a lot of stones around him. The lava torrent wasn't deep at all, so throwing stones at it, he made a tiny path to hop on. The castle was rather small inside, so the hardest thing was to actually get into it. When he entered the hall, John saw 3 doors. Above the doors, there was a sign. It said, "One of the doors leads to a labyrinth no one ever escaped. One of the doors is the exit. If you enter it, you'll have to cross all the 3 moats all over again. One of the doors has what you're looking for." When John looked at the doors, he knew immediately where his friend was. Which door did he choose? The handles were made of shiny metal, which looks cool but gathers all the fingerprints. The only door with fingerprints is the one on the left. John opens the door and sees his friend. Carl rushes out of that dark room, and while heading to the exit, they spot a few frames. Which one is Carl's? The rectangular one. The painting was rectangular, and the 2 other frames are square. The 2 friends get out of the castle, get in the car, and head to the police department. There, an officer's waiting for them. They have 3 suspects who could have possibly taken the exquisite frame. Carl and John enter the room separately. Still, they choose the same person. Who did they choose? The man on the right. Carl chooses him because it's the art expert. John chooses him because he saw him with Carl having lunch. Wow, seems like this expert's not going to work with Carl ever again.
Jenny and Ben were about to get married. They wanted to book a hotel for their wedding ceremony in the party. So they went to a wedding planner to look at some options. She told them only 3 hotels were available for the day they wanted and showed them the pictures. Which one should they choose? Take a closer look at the third-floor windows of the first hotel. In the last window on the right, there's a creepy shadow of a monster that appears and disappears. 5 stars or not, no one would like to get married in a haunted place unless they're an Addams Family member. In the third hotel, only has 2 stars. It probably doesn't have the facilities to host a wedding, so the best choice is the second hotel. Great choice, the wedding planner said, and you're in luck because they actually have a great discount offer. If you can answer this riddle correctly, you won't have to pay for the ballroom rental. Here it is. Those who have it, do not say it. Those who take it, do not know it. Those who know it, do not want it. What is it? Do you know the answer? It's fake money. The next day, Ben and Jenny went to the hotel to pick the best ballroom for their party. The hotel manager took them to 3 different rooms where they could host everything, from the ceremony itself to the dinner and after party. Which one should they pick? Do you see a little mouse hole in the corner of the first ballroom? The couple wouldn't want such uninvited guests at their party. As for the second ballroom, the chandelier looks like it might fall down any minute. Not the safest option, so they should pick the third ballroom. It was time for Ben and Jenny to pick the wedding menu. Since they were not paying for the venue, they wanted to spare no expense in serving food that the guests would never forget. That's why they called 3 different Michelin star chefs. Each of them prepared a different dish and presented them for a tasting. Which chef, and therefore which dish, should they go for? Even though the dish the second chef made looks perfectly fine, do you see a rat's tail hanging from his chef's hat? There must be some ratatouille situation going on there. So that's a pass. The third dish looks like spaghetti, right? Well, look again. Those are actually very thin snakes. Exotic flavors might not be the best option, so they better go with the classical burger that the first chef made. Before they made their wedding vows, Jenny had to say yes to a dress. So, she went to a couture store to check their wedding gown collection. She explained to the designer the style of the dress she wanted for her ceremony. The designer said he had just the perfect gown for her and would bring it to her if she answered his riddle correctly. He asked, if a gown takes an hour to dry, how many hours will it take 6 dresses to dry? It'll still take 1 hour because they'll all dry at the same time. Ben had one last item to buy on his wedding shopping list, and it was what fastens 2 people yet touches only one. Can you figure out what it is? It's a wedding ring, of course. Ben headed to a jewelry store to get something blue for his bride. The store owner showed him 3 different wedding rings with blue gemstones. Which one should he buy? The second ring has an engraving inside, so it must have belonged to someone else before. The gemstone on the third ring has a tiny crack in it. That can only mean it's made of glass or even plastic. So, Ben should buy the first ring with a sapphire. Next, Ben and Jenny were going to send out invitations. One print shop offered them 3 different versions of invitations. Which one should they choose? Do you remember the name of the hotel they booked? It was Sunrise Lodge. But the first invitation says Sunset Lodge. So this one won't do. And on the third invitation, their names are printed as Benny and Jen. That's not our couple, so they should choose the second invitation. Before the wedding, 3 of their friends paid them a visit. One of them brought a painting as a wedding gift, but all 3 claimed that they were the artist who had created it. 2 of them must be lying. Can you figure out who the actual artist is? Take a look at the signature on the painting. It says Denise. Now look at the third friend's necklace. It has the letter D, so she must be Denise, the artist who painted the painting. It was finally the day of the wedding, and Ben and Jenny's guests started to arrive. However, the hotel security spotted 3 suspicious-looking people who could be uninvited. Take a look at these 3 guys. Can you tell which one is not supposed to be at the wedding? Do you see the hotel wristbands that say Ben and Jenny that the second and the third guys are wearing? That can only mean they are actually invited. So it's the first guy who's crushing the wedding. Sorry, dude, no free drinks for you. After the vows were exchanged, it was time to party. As Ben and Jenny were dancing, someone spilled their drink on Jenny's dress, but no one saw who it was. Jenny spotted 3 people who could have done it. Take a look at them. Can you tell who ruined her dress? The first guy has spots on his shirt that resemble stains from the spilled drink, but they are actually part of the pattern, so it can't be him. The third lady looks clean, but the hem of the second lady's skirt looks dirty, so it must be her who did it. After the ceremony ended, Ben and Jenny wanted to take a photo to capture the moment forever. But take a look at it. There's something strange about it. Can you spot what it is? Can you see a woman hiding behind the trees watching them? She is wearing a witch hat, but it's a wedding ceremony and not a costume party. Creepy. Right before leaving, Jenny suddenly vanished. Then the witch suddenly appeared in front of Ben and said, "You may only kiss the bride if you figure out with whom you really tied the knot." Ha ha! Then 2 Jennys appeared in front of Ben. Can you tell which one is his real wife? Remember the wedding photo? The Jenny on the left is the real one because her tattoo is on the same side as in the photo. Now that Ben and Jenny's wedding was over, phew, it was time for them to pick a honeymoon destination. They went to a travel agency to book a tour. The travel agent offered them 3 different holiday destinations: Ibiza, Cannes, in the Caribbeans. Which one should they go to? Have you noticed the weather forecast on TV in the office? It states that the weather in Ibiza is going to be windy in the upcoming days, and in Cannes, it's going to be rainy. So they should pick the Caribbeans and enjoy the sun. The travel agent said she could upgrade their plane tickets to business class for free. It would be her wedding gift to them. But they had to crack this riddle. What can travel around the world while staying in a corner? It's a stamp.
Both Harry and Terry's girlfriends went away on a business trip for the weekend. During the whole time, the couples were texting and sending each other pictures. On Sunday morning, the girls asked their boyfriends to send them their selfies. Harry sent a selfie where he was smiling in the kitchen. Terry sent a selfie of himself in the bathroom. One of the girlfriends knew immediately that her boyfriend was cheating. Who was it, and how did the girlfriend know? It was Harry. Look at that lipstick mark on the glass on top of the kitchen counter. Becca and Tom are a couple. One of them rented a scooter from Brown Scooters and now needs to pay for the ride. A worker from the scooter company comes to charge the couple $15 that they owe. Becca and Tom start arguing over who should pay for the scooter. Becca says that Tom was the one who wrote it, so he should pay for it. But Tom says that it was Becca who wrote it, and she should pay for it. Who is lying? Becca is lying. Take a look at Becca's footprints. They lead directly to the scooter. There were 3 thefts at a local supermarket. One in February, one in May, and one in July. Thankfully, the security camera recorded the footage of those 3 days. The store manager called Detective Moore, asking to solve the crime. The detective took a close look at the footage and noticed one detail that helped him solve the mystery. Take a look at the images and try to figure out who the thief is. In all 3 videos, there is a pregnant lady. In the video from February, she looks about 7 months pregnant. But in the other videos, from May and July, her belly looks exactly the same. This means that she is the thief. She must have been faking her pregnancy all along. Dr. O'Brien invented the time machine and traveled all the way back to prehistoric times. Take a look at this picture and see if you can spot Dr. O'Brien amongst other prehistoric people carrying out their activities. That's easy. It's the guy with the flashlight. He must have taken one with him when he set off on his journey. Katie was running late for class. When she finally arrived at the classroom, she accidentally dropped the pile of textbooks she was holding. It produced a loud thump, making the entire classroom stare at her. At that moment, Katie drew the attention of 20 eyes. How many people were in the classroom that day? There were 11 people. 10 people have a pair of eyes each, right? Add Katie to the equation. That makes a total of 11 people in the room. Police officer Dave received a call late at night. A famous chemist went missing from his lab. After searching the lab thoroughly, Dave found a note with ransom numbers scribbled on it. The note read 26 3 58, 28 27 57 16. Based on the note, Dave managed to find the scientist and arrest the criminals who had taken him. What was written in the encrypted note, and how did Dave understand it? The chemist is smart. Each number in the note corresponds to an element in the periodic table. So the element that corresponds to 26 is Fe, iron. Number 3 is Li, lithium. And 58 is Ce, cerium. If you use this logic, you can figure out that the first line spells Felice, and the numbers in the second line stand for Nicholas. After figuring out the names, Dave tracked the men down and arrested them. Helena finally got herself a new guitar. She wanted to play it right away, but she had to go to school. She locked the instrument inside her room and left. When she got home in the evening, the guitar was gone. She knew it must have been one of her family members, as they always played pranks on one another. So she questioned each one of them. Helena's mother said she hadn't even seen the guitar the girl had bought. Her dad said that he had seen it when he passed by Helena's room, but he swore he hadn't done anything to it. Helena's brother said he hadn't gone upstairs the whole day, so he hadn't seen the guitar either. Helena solved the mystery instantly. Can you figure it out? Her dad was lying. He said he'd seen the guitar when passing by the girl's room, but that's impossible. Helena locked the door when she left. A bank was robbed by masked strangers. One of the robbers asked the teller to give them all the money hidden in the bank safe. But suddenly, the teller's phone rang. It was his mother. The robber told the guy to pick up the phone to avoid arousing suspicion. On the phone, the teller asked, "Is there an emergency, Mother?" Call me when you get home and I'll help you with the dinner." Then he hung up. 5 minutes later, while the robbers were still in the bank, the police arrived at the crime scene. How did the police know about the robbery? The teller was smart. While he was speaking on the phone with his mother, he pressed the mute button while he was saying some of the words. So what his mother heard on the other end of the line was, "Emergency, mother, call help." On the outskirts of a town, there was a haunted house. A group of friends decided to check it out. They went there at night, but as soon as they got there, one of the friends refused to go inside and tried to stop the others. But they just laughed and left him behind. There were terrible crashing sounds coming from the house, and then everything went still. John never saw his friends again. How did John understand that there was something seriously wrong with the house? John was very attentive. He noticed that there was lots of footprints leading towards the house, but none going away. A famous hotel has 7 floors. 5 people are staying on the first floor. 8 people are staying on the second floor. 11 people are staying on the third floor, and so on. Each next floor has 3 more people living there than the previous one. Which floor calls the elevator most often? The first floor. Any person staying on a floor other than the first has to call the elevator to reach their destination. In a small town, 3 teachers asked for sick leave on the same day. Janet said she had got into a car accident and broke her leg. Now she was having difficulty walking with the cast and all. Emma complained she'd had a very unfortunate workout and injured her neck. She couldn't even turn her head. And Tina said that she'd fallen from her bike and hurt her arm. One of the teachers is lying. Can you tell who? It's Janet. She claims she's having difficulty walking with the cast, but she doesn't even have crutches. You wake up and find yourself trapped in a room with 4 doors in front of you. You hear a monster coming, so you check the door quickly. The leftmost door has a sign on it saying, "Take the door on the right to break free." The second door also has a sign saying, "It's the right door." The third door has a sign, "Freedom is just right in front of you." And the last door has a sign saying, "Don't trust the signs." Which door should you choose? Well, there's a little bit of wordplay here. Let's see why. The first door says to take the door on the right. The second one says it's the right door. Not the correct door, but the door on the right. The third door says, "Freedom is just right in front of you." That just doesn't make any sense, does it? You can interpret this statement as pointing at the door just on your right. Well, that's it. It's the last door. It does tell you not to trust the other signs, but it doesn't tell you that they're false, does it?
Detective Callum arrived at a jewelry store because the owner reported that someone had stolen a diamond. He didn't let any customers or a cleaning man out, so they were the main suspects. Everyone denied stealing the diamond. There were no fingerprints found. Can you help Detective Callum decide whom he should arrest? He should arrest the man and the woman wearing gloves. Since no fingerprints were left, it must be one of them, or both. Olivia sneaked into an old mansion to explore it and got trapped inside. There are 3 ways out, and all of them are dangerous. Behind the first door, the roof and the floor are made of magnifying glass, and the sun would burn anyone who enters. Behind the second door, there's a dangerous doll with knives that can come to life at any moment. Behind the third door, there's a room filled with poisonous gas that makes anyone's skin melt. How can Olivia escape safely? She can just leave through the first door. It's night, so the sun isn't shining, so the first way out is safe. Detective Callum was abroad, traveling by train, when he heard two men arguing. One of them, Hendrix, was blaming the other, Brian, for trying to steal his suitcase. Their suitcases looked exactly the same, and Brian claimed that he had just confused the two by accident. Detective Callum asked both men to open their suitcases. Do you think it was an accident? Hendrix's suitcase is filled with clothes and electronic devices and must be pretty heavy. Brian's suitcase is almost empty, with only a pair of jeans and a book inside. It must be way lighter, and even though the bags look alike, Brian for sure knew that the bag he took couldn't be his. It was way heavier than it was supposed to be. Luna found her cousin, Mia, poisoned in her room and called the police. Detective Callum asked Luna what had happened. She said that she was walking past Mia's house when she saw that the light in her room was on. She walked to the window to see if Mia was there and saw her on the floor. She had a key, so she walked into the house and called the police. She didn't touch anything so that they could investigate what had happened. Detective Callum arrested Luna. Why? She said that she saw Mia in the window. But look, the blinds are closed. If Luna hadn't touched anything, she couldn't have seen what was going on in the room. She must be lying about something. While Ms. Virginia Dell, a rich lady, was on her 3-month business trip abroad, her mansion was robbed. The security was notified, and Detective Callum started the investigation. There were 3 people caught on the security camera, and he started interrogating them. Charlotte, Ms. Dell's cousin, said that she'd visited several times to collect the mail. Camilla, the housemaid, said that she had come 3 days ago to clean the house. Ismail, the gardener, said that she came every Wednesday to take care of the garden. All of them denied stealing anything. Detective Callum arrested one of them. Whom? Camilla, the housemaid. She said that she had cleaned the house 3 days ago. But look at the house. There's dust and dark stains. It doesn't look like the house has been cleaned recently, so she probably lied. Abigail stayed late in the office because she had a lot of work to do. She left the room to get some snacks and a coffee. Half an hour later, she returned and found out that someone had stolen her wallet, so she called the police. Detective Callum interrogated 3 people who were still in the office. Noel, the cleaning man, said that he had been cleaning another floor and had never stepped into Abigail's office that day yet. Sonia, the accountant, said that she had been talking on the phone with her mom. Sean, a regional manager, said that he had been in his office, flooded with work. Who stole the wallet? No one. Detective Callum figured out that since Abigail went to get snacks and coffee, she must have had her wallet with her. He just recommended she should get some sleep and stop overworking. Elizabeth and her daughter Ella went abroad traveling. They were walking and shopping in one remote town when Elizabeth noticed that Ella had disappeared. She called the police and they started to look for the girl. There were 3 people nearby and they were interrogated. Layla said that she hadn't seen the girl. Madison said that she had seen the girl with her mom, but that was it. Amelia said that she had heard someone screaming, but she hadn't seen who it was. Who should be arrested? Layla. Look, she's carrying Ella's purse. Gideon had a girlfriend, a sister, and 2 cousins. Figure out who Gideon's sister is if the cousins are saying the truth and the sister and the girlfriend are lying. Chloe. E is his girlfriend. Ruby. Chloe is lying. Skylar. Ruby is lying. Lily. Skylar is not his sister. If Chloe is telling the truth, then Lily is lying. Then Skylar is his sister, who's also lying. So Ruby must be telling the truth, which contradicts that Chloe is telling the truth. So Chloe is for sure lying. Then Ruby is telling the truth, and Skylar is lying. So Lily is telling the truth. 2 liars are Chloe and Skylar, and they're Gideon's girlfriend and sister. Lily says that Skylar isn't his sister. So Skylar is his girlfriend, and then Chloe is his sister. Scarlett just moved into her new apartment 3 days ago. One evening, she was reading before bed when she heard a knock on the door. She opened the door, and there was a confused man who said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just moved in here earlier today, and I thought it was my apartment. Once again, sorry, and good night." Then he left. Scarlett didn't believe that it was just a mistake and reported the man to the police. Why? The problem was that the guy had knocked. If he had really thought it was his room, he would have tried to open it with his own keys. Nora lived alone in the city suburbs. She called the police and reported that someone had robbed her house and stolen her savings that she had been keeping in a pair of socks on one of her wardrobe shelves. Detective Callum arrived with the police, took a look at the room, and closed the case, claiming that the lady was lying. Why did he think so? The room was absolutely clean. If someone had robbed the house, they would have made a mess while searching for money. The person who took the money must have known exactly where it was, which is unrealistic. Mrs. Ledger is a high school history teacher. One day, she started a sudden oral test, asking students questions from the back of the book. If the students figure out the order in which she asks, they can find the answer to their question in advance. The first 3 people she asked were Atlas, Eleanor, and Gracelyn. There are Zoe, Luca, Sienna, and Victoria left. Can you guess who will answer which question? Mrs. Ledger is asking students in alphabetical order. So, up next is Luca, then Sienna, then Victoria, and Zoe. Another day, another test. Once again, Mrs. Ledger is asking students. This time, the first ones to answer were Zoe, Luca, and Atlas. In which order will she ask the remaining students? This time, she started with people with the shortest names. There are 3 letters in Zoe, 4 in Luca, and 5 in Atlas. The next one is Sienna, who has 6 letters in her name. Then Eleanor with 7 letters, Victoria with 8 letters, and Gracelyn with 9.
Like every morning, Daphne went to her favorite local cafe to get her coffee and breakfast sandwich. She left the cafe after she'd paid. A few minutes later, she returned, looking anxious because she had forgotten her wallet. Strangely, it was nowhere to be found. She called the police to report the incident. Nobody had left the store, so the thief was still there when the officer arrived. He started questioning everyone. Jenny, the cashier, said that Daphne was a regular customer and she had known her for a long time. So, she would never steal her wallet, and she didn't see it after Daphne had paid. Andre was a tourist visiting the city for the first time. He said he'd come to the cafe because he'd wanted to try their famous muffins. She claimed he hadn't seen the wallet. He was busy trying to pick what type of muffin he should get at the time. And Harry worked as a store clerk. He said that he'd come there to grab a coffee. And he didn't see the wallet because he was pouring milk into his coffee. So who do you think stole the wallet? It was Harry, the store clerk, or should I say Harold. Do you see his name tag? He lied about his name when he ordered his drink. Also, even though he said he was pouring milk in his coffee, as you can see, it doesn't have any milk in it. Jessica was an aspiring actor, and she had a big musical theater audition that day. She left her house early in the morning to make it on time, but she had forgotten to take her sheet music with her, so she had to drive back. When she walked in, though, she saw her roommate lying on the floor unconscious. A nurse was standing beside her. She explained to Jessica that her roommate had been poisoned, but luckily, she'd had enough time to call an ambulance before she passed out. Jessica immediately realized something was wrong. She thanked the nurse for helping her friend and asked her if she could get her a glass of water or anything else. The nurse agreed, and Jessica hurried to the kitchen. There, she called the police saying, "There's a fake nurse in my house. She poisoned my roommate and tried to rob her." How did Jessica understand that? When she arrived at the house, there was no ambulance car in the driveway or in the street. And it's not like paramedics started using Uber. And you might have also noticed that the paramedic bag the nurse was holding was slightly open, and Jessica's roommate's jewelry was dangling out of it. Anna and Catherine are both influencers, but take a look at the latest photos they posted. Which of these ladies do you think is richer? Catherine is richer, of course. Just look at the number of likes on her photo. She has 27,907 likes. Anna, on the other hand, has 9,837, which means that Catherine has way more followers and must be earning millions. Annie managed to buy presents for everyone except her dad. She knew what everyone wanted, but her dad was kind of secretive and not the talking type. He was also not great with technology and never bought anything online. So there was no way she could sneak into her dad's computer and check the saved items in his shopping cart. But he always liked to make lists in his little notebook, and Annie was sure she might be able to find a wish list there. So she sneaked into her father's office one day to look for the notebook. It was nowhere to be found, but his study table had a locked drawer. She looked for the key around the room but couldn't find it anywhere. That's when 2 different sticky notes attached to 2 different books inside the bookcase caught her eye. The first note was attached to a psychology book and had P5487TH written on it. The second note was attached to a detective novel and said P21320TH. Annie immediately knew what the notes meant. Can you guess what she had to do? She had to open to page 548 in the first book and find the 7th word on this page. Then, she had to open page 213 in the second book and find the 20th word on that page. The words she found were under and desk. The girl immediately looked under the desk and found the drawer key taped to it. James was walking back to his apartment from work late at night. Suddenly, he was hit on the head and taken away. When he woke up, he found himself in a small room. He tried to escape, but the door was locked with a padlock. James tried to look for the key, but there was nothing in there but a window with strange-looking metal bars. Suddenly, he noticed something. It helped him to find the key. Do you see it too? One of the metal bars is different from the others. That one is the key. Giselle was camping in the forest during a night when the moon was full. After midnight, when she was making s'mores by a fire, she heard a loud howl. There was a werewolf in the forest, and it managed to find Giselle's tent because it smelled of food there. Thankfully, Giselle was not in her tent anymore when the werewolf arrived because she had already run away. Hiding behind a tree, she watched the creature eat her s'mores and tear up the tent. When the werewolf left before sunrise, the girl returned to her tent, but everything was ruined. There was no more food or water left. Her cell phone had run out of battery, so she couldn't call anyone. She started wandering through the forest, and soon she came upon a witch's house. When she walked in, she saw the witch and another lady. Giselle asked the witch if she could send her home. The witch agreed to help her on one condition. She would only send Giselle home if she guessed her sister's name. If not, she would turn her into a frog. Giselle knew the answer, but how? Did you notice that the witch's sister is wearing the same necklace around her neck as the werewolf? Well, Giselle did, and there's a name written on the necklace: Abigail. Zoe went to a security guard and reported that her gym bag was missing. She said she'd gone to the ladies' restroom after her dance cardio class. She was fixing her hair when someone came up from behind and pushed her. So she didn't see the person who had taken her bag. The security guard refused to check the footage from the security camera that was outside the restroom. Neither did he file a report. Why? Zoe said she was fixing her hair, so she must have been looking in the mirror. If she was telling the truth about someone sneaking up from behind, she would have definitely seen their reflection. So, Zoe probably lied so that she could sue them. Luckily, the security guard was super smart. Several women went missing in a small town. James Darcy and his police team had been searching for months, but they couldn't find the place where the women were kept. One day, when Sandra was jogging, she decided to use another route to get home. As she was passing an old cabin, she heard screams coming from its basement. She immediately called James Darcy to report it. James and his team arrived at the place and busted in. They found there 3 women. They all said that they had been locked in the basement for months, but James knew one of them was lying. The first woman said that her name was Tammy and that she had spent almost 8 months in the basement. The second woman claimed that her name was Hannah and that she had been there for almost 5 months. The third woman told him that her name was Allison and that she had stayed there for about 3 months. Can you tell who the liar is? Allison is telling the truth. Look at her. Her clothes are dirty. Her hair is greasy. Her roots have started to grow out. She definitely hasn't seen daylight for a long time. The same goes for Hannah. But look at Tammy. She looks clean. Her clothes look new. Her hair and makeup look fresh, so it must be her who is lying. David spent his summer break at a science camp that was at a big space facility. When the summer break ended and school started, he told his friends from the science club all about his camp adventures. He said that at the facility, he had found a secret room. And in there was a time machine. He stepped into it and pressed some buttons to test if it really worked, and it did. He traveled through time and was able to talk to Nikola Tesla, Chuck Berry, and King Aragorn. But one of his friends immediately called him out for lying. How did he know that David made up this whole thing? Well, even if David actually managed to travel through time, he might have been able to talk to Nikola Tesla and Chuck Berry, but definitely not King Aragorn, because he is a fictional character. Dana is a swimming champion, preparing for her competitions on Monday. 24 hours before the big day, she disappears. Nobody can find her, and the police suspect 3 other swimmers. Hannah says she hasn't spoken to Dana since their last practice. Ashley explains that she invited Dana for lunch on Saturday, but the missing swimmer refused because she was getting her hair done for the competition. And Melanie says that she spoke to Dana the night before. Dana told her she was feeling anxious before the race. One of the swimmers is lying. Who is it? Ashley knows where Dana is. It doesn't make sense for a swimmer to have her hair done before a competition. Laura was walking home from work when she heard screams coming from a nearby house. She immediately rushed in to help. She followed the voice and it guided her to a basement. As soon as she walked in, the door slammed shut. 3 portals opened in front of her. Only one of them led to safety. The first portal was filled with giant venomous spiders. In the second portal, there was a huge suspended rock that was supposed to crash down the moment someone stepped in. In the third portal, 7 hungry crocodiles were waiting for their next victim. Can you help Laura choose the right portal? Laura should pick the second portal. She can throw her shoes inside, wait for the giant stone to fall to the ground, and make her way around it. Daniel is a sailor on a large cruise ship. One day, the captain asked him to go to the hold and get some supplies. But as the man was walking down the ladder, it broke. Try as he might, he couldn't get out. Sometime later, he discovered there was a hole in the side of the ship. More and more water was getting inside through this hole. How can Daniel get out? He can put on one of the life jackets that are in the room and wait for the water to fill the hold. This water will lift him and he'll be able to push the door open. Look at this man and 3 women attentively. Can you figure out which one of them is his real wife? It must be the girl on the left. Look, unlike the other 2 girls, she has nothing in her hands. At the same time, the man is holding a purse, which, if we're honest, doesn't match his style at all. Ben and his girlfriend Amelie went to explore a cave and got lost. After some time, they came across 2 people, a guy and a young woman. The man, bearded and rough-looking, had a shovel in his hands. I've been stuck here for a week. I know how to get to the surface, but I need your help. Come with me. The young woman exclaimed, "Don't trust him. He's a criminal."
Oh no.
"Follow me. I've been stuck here for way longer than him, but I think I know where the exit is." Who should Ben and Amelie believe? Ben and Amelie decided to follow the man. If the girl had been in the cave for so long, why did she look so tidy and have fresh flowers in her hair? Look at this image. Can you figure out who came from the past? It's this guy. Take a closer look at his chest. He's wearing a shirt frill. Those were popular in the 19th century. How about this picture? Who's from the past? I bet it's this young girl. Look at her weird hat. And now, will you be able to spot the time traveler? It's this lady. Have a look. She's wearing clogs. Nature photographer Lydia was out taking pictures of trees and flowers in the park. She stopped when she noticed some weird chemical smell in the air. She took photos of all 3 factories in the area. When Lydia looked at the images later, she immediately realized which factory emitted toxic gas. Can you figure it out too? It's not the first factory. It seems abandoned. The second one is surrounded by trees and flowers. It means the smoke coming out of its funnels is safe. It's the third factory that's the toxic one. The trees around it look dry and unhealthy, and the flowers have turned black. At the airport, a furious traveler claimed that the contents of his baggage had disappeared. When I got my suitcase, it was empty. I want compensation. After checking the passenger's info, an airport worker found out that he had indeed left London with a heavy suitcase. And now his bag was empty and a bit wet. But don't you think the whole situation is a bit suspicious? Can you figure out what probably happened here? The passenger left London with a suitcase full of ice. During the flight, the ice melted and the water leaked out, and the man demanded compensation for his lost belongings. Lauren cooked 10 buckets of chicken wings for a family gathering, one for each guest. But later, it turned out that Jimmy hadn't gotten his portion. Someone had taken 2 buckets. Is it Uncle Patrick? He looks suspicious. Or maybe it's Lauren's son, Justin. He's wearing this creepy, knowing smile. Or could Jimmy himself hide his chicken wings to get another portion? What do you think? Where are the wings? Look at the dog. It wouldn't leave Uncle Patrick's side. It can smell the meat the man has hidden. Damien was at work when he found out he'd won the lottery jackpot. He told his accountant he wanted to give half of this money to his best friend Logan. But random people started showing up in the office calling themselves Logan to deceive the accountant and get the money. Can you figure out who the real best friend is? It's the guy wearing a matching bracelet with Damien. Emily was standing on one side of the river, and Anna was on the other. Anna shouted to Emily to come and meet her, and Emily did that. There was no bridge across the river, but she crossed it anyway without even getting wet. Hello. How did she do it? The river was frozen. 3 people were stopped at the security check in an international airport. They were suspected of smuggling different stuff out of the country. The first man was heading to a beach resort. In his suitcase, there was a lot of stuff you could use at the seaside. An umbrella, a pair of sunglasses, sunscreen, and a beach towel. The second man had a cage with 3 colorful birds and a pet carrier with a family of hamsters. He had all the necessary papers. The third man was traveling for business. In his bag, he had a suit, some documents, a toothbrush, toothpaste, and a bottle of expensive shampoo. Who's the smuggler? It's the third guy. He's bald. Why would he need this shampoo? 5 men were fishing in a boat not far from the shore. A big wave turned the boat over and all the men fell into the water. And still, not a single man got wet. How come? All the men were happily married. Stephen was driving to work when he realized he had left a folder with important documents at home. It was about 9 a.m. when he entered his house and saw a man leaving through the back door and running to a red car. Stephen called the police and told them about what had happened. Police officers didn't waste time and went to look for the criminal. After searching for 10 minutes, they spotted a similar-looking car near a cafe. When they entered the place, there was only one customer there. One of the police officers came up to him. "Is it your car? Where were you 20 minutes ago?" The customer answered, "Yeah, the car's mine, but I've been sitting here for more than an hour." The police officer immediately arrested him. Can you figure out why? The police officer noticed that the cafe only opened at 9 a.m. The guy couldn't have spent an hour there. Erica works at the Railway Security Service. This morning, she received an emergency alert. There's a person with fake documents trying to escape to Canada by train. Erica and her colleagues found 3 suspects who look almost the same. Can you identify a criminal just by looking at one's passport? No matter what country a person is from, no passport can have a photo with mountains in the background. So these documents are fake. Bob is a college teacher. He invited his worst student, Dan, for a conversation. Bob wants to test the guy's logical thinking. He says, "If you tell a lie, I will expel you from college. And if you tell the truth, I'll still expel you." What should the student say to stay in college? Bob should say, "I'm telling lies." This phrase will create a paradox because it cannot be a lie or the truth. Nancy has 10 bowling balls. Her brother Josh decided to check her intelligence, so he asked Nancy to place those 10 balls in 5 lines, such that each of the lines has exactly 4 balls on them. Can you help her accomplish this task? She should draw a 5-point star and place the 10 balls occupying the corners and the intersection points. Voila! 5 lines with 4 balls in each row. Kevin has been hitchhiking in a desert for hours. Finally, one driver stopped and said,
I will give you a ride wherever you want, but first, you gotta crack my riddle. Which letter can make the road larger?
Can you help Kevin solve this task? The letter B can turn road into broad. Alex is a shepherd. He had 30 sheep, out of which all but 13 ran away. Can you calculate how many sheep Alex has now? He has 13 sheep. The phrase "all but 13 ran away" actually means that all except the 13 escaped. Take a look at these 3 prisoners. The first guy pushes the iron bars. The second guy shakes muscles with dumbbells. The third guy sits and reads a book. There's a picture hanging on the wall. Can you say for sure who's likely to escape? Take a closer look at the third guy. Can you see the sand under the painting? He must be digging a tunnel and covering it with a picture, so he's the one who wants to escape. All Becky's shoes are black except 2. Also, all Becky's shoes are red except 2. And all Becky's shoes are yellow except 2. Can you calculate how many shoes Becky has in general? Just 3, one of each color. Dr. Smith prescribed Dan expensive vitamins. He gave Dan 2 bottles labeled R and B. The pills are entirely identical. The doctor asked Dan to take 1 pill daily from the R bottle and 1 pill from the B bottle. He can't take more or less than that. One morning, Dan was taking out the pills. He took out 1 pill from the R bottle as usual, and then, by mistake, he took out 2 from the B bottle. Now Dan has no idea which pill is which. He can't just throw away the expensive pills. What would you suggest? Dan should cut each of the 3 pills in half and put each half in 2 piles. Now each of the 2 piles will contain half of pill R and 2 halves of pill B. Now, Dan should take 1 more pill from the R bottle, cut it into half, and put the 2 halves in 2 different piles. This way, we'll know that each pile will have 2 halves of pill R and 2 halves of pill B, or 1 complete R pill and 1 complete B pill. Dan can take 1 pile today and keep the second pile for tomorrow. I am red, but I smell like blue paint. What am I? Red paint. Timmy's mother has 3 sons. She named her first son April. The next one's name is May. Can you guess the youngest son's name? And the correct answer is Timmy. Pretty obvious, huh? Can you spot what's wrong in this picture? The reflection in the mirrors doesn't match reality. What about this picture? Can you see anything odd? These two ladies seem completely fine, but there's a bandage on this guy's leg. No one would go to a swimming pool if they had big scratches, unless they're a zombie. The king of octopuses has sons, who have 6, 7, or 8 legs. The one with 7 legs always lies, but the one with either 6 or 8 legs always tells the truth. On a certain night, 4 sons meet and chat. The blue octopus says, "We have 28 legs altogether." The green one says, "We have 27 legs altogether." The purple one says, "We have 26 legs altogether." And the red octopus says, "We have 25 legs altogether." Can you identify the color of the sun who's speaking the truth? The green sun is telling the truth. To prove it, let us first assume that one of them is telling the truth. Obviously, 3 of the 4 suns lie as they disagree with each other. Let's suppose that the blue octopus is telling the truth. In that case, he has either 6 or 8 legs. And each of the other octopuses is lying, which means they have 7 legs. In this case, the total number of legs will be 6 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 27 legs, or 8 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 29 legs. But the blue octopus said that they have 28 legs altogether, therefore he lies. Now we can follow the same logic and check the remaining 3 suns. And we'll find out that only the green octopus is telling the truth. I have an eye, but cannot see. I'm faster than any man alive, but have no limbs. What am I? The correct answer is hurricane. I know a word of letters 3. Add 2 and there will be fewer. Can you guess the word? The correct answer is few. I have a beard without being a man. I'm green, but I'm not a lizard. I'm white, but I'm not snow. Who am I? The correct answer is leek. A wicked wizard has imprisoned Billy in his tower. Billy ran away from the wizard, but now he needs to choose between these 3 doors leading outside the tower. There's a toxic gas behind the first door. The second path is full of poisonous scorpions and snakes. And behind the third door, there's a pride of lions which haven't eaten for 3 years. Which way is the safest? The third one. The lions can't starve for 3 years and still be alive. Monica adores real estate. She used to spend $300,000 per house and acquired property worldwide. She realized that she had too many houses at one point, so she started selling them at $30,000 per house. How is that possible if she was obviously losing money? Before selling her property, Monica used to be a billionaire. Since she started losing money, she became only a millionaire. I'm full of holes, but I still hold water. What am I? A sponge. Sarah's mother has 2 sons and 1 daughter. The sons' names are Josh and John. What's the daughter's name? Sarah. You're in a room with 3 monkeys. One monkey has a banana, one has a stick, and one has nothing. Can you tell for sure who's the smartest primate in the room? You! The sun bakes me, the hand breaks me, the foot treads me, the mouth tastes me. What am I? The correct answer is grapes. Bobby participated in a brain teaser contest. The host blindfolded Bobby and gave him a basket with 25 red apples, 47 green apples, and 3 yellow apples. What's the minimum number of apples that Bobby has to pick to ensure that there are at least 2 apples of different colors? He should pick at least 48 apples. There's a slight chance he might pick up 47 green apples in a row. The Smiths are having a family dinner. A grandfather, a grandmother, 2 fathers, 2 mothers, 1 brother, 2 sisters, 2 sons, 2 daughters, 1 daughter-in-law, and 1 mother-in-law need to sit at a table. There are only 7 chairs available in the room. How many more chairs do they have to borrow to sit down all together for the dinner if everyone requires a separate chair? They don't need additional chairs. There are only 7 people. A grandfather married a grandmother. They have a son who has married a woman. Together, they have a son and 2 daughters, so there are only 7 people at the dinner. What has to be broken before you can use it? Any ideas? An egg. I have a math workout for you today, but first, let's have a little warm-up. How many ducks do you see in this picture? Don't forget about the hidden ones. There are 15 ducks. Did you find them all? Okay, now count all the flowers. Right, there are 17 of them. Can you spot 3 differences between these photos? Here they are. And another one. There are 3 differences again. Do you see them? Okay, here they are. Good job. Okay, now a bit of math for you. Look at this picture. The only number multiplied by itself that gives 25 is 5, so this shape equals 5. This way, the other shape from the second equation is 4. 4 and 6 make 10, so the red circle equals 6. Then, 5 multiplied by 6 gives us 30. This one is similar, but a bit harder, so be very attentive. Okay, 3 pairs of sneakers make 30. Then 1 pair equals 10. Then 1 cat with a whistle must be 5. In this case, 2 whistles equal 4, so 1 whistle is 2. Now the last one. A pair of sneakers is 10. We know that a cat with a whistle is 5, but this kitty doesn't have a whistle. But since a whistle is 2, the cat without a whistle must be 3. And a whistle equals 2. So, it's 10 plus 3 multiplied by 2, which is 16. Ava and Dakota are sisters. When Dakota was 18, Ava was half her age. Now that Dakota is 26, how old is Ava? When Dakota was 18, Ava was 9, so the age difference between the sisters is 9 years. If Dakota is 26 now, then Ava is 17. When Polaris was 16 years old, her mother was 39. If Polaris's mom is twice her daughter's age, how old is Polaris? The age difference between Polaris and her mother is 23 years. That means now, Polaris is 23 and her mom is 46. Yvonne had a big collection of CDs. One day, she decided to clean up her house and counted that she had 172 CDs. She sold them all except for 7 CDs of her favorite singer and 5 CDs of her favorite band. How many CDs does Yvonne have now? Well, if she gave up all but 7 plus 5, it leaves her with 12 CDs. In PE class, all students were standing in a circle. If the 5th student was exactly opposite the 12th student, how many students were in the circle? Between student number 5 and student number 12, there are 6 other students. If these two are opposite each other, then on the other side between them, there are also 6 students. This makes 14 students in the circle. Danica owns a candy store. She sells candy for $0.12 a dozen. How many candy pieces can you get if you have $1? $0.12 for a dozen mean that one candy costs 1 cent. So if you have $1, you can get 100 candies. For casting a spell, Flora should put these stones in the correct order. She has 4 of them: purple, green, red, and blue. The instruction says: 1. The red one only has 1 stone next to it. 2. The green and purple stones aren't next to each other. 3. The green stone is the last one. Can you help Flora? If the red stone only has 1 other stone next to it, then it's either the first one or the last one. But since green is the last one, then red is the first one. If the green and purple stones aren't next to each other, then there's the blue stone between them. So, the correct order is red, purple, blue, and green. It was midday. Kaylin was exploring a big local forest. She found an abandoned mansion and entered it. The door closed behind her back and wouldn't open.
Oh no!
Kaylin got trapped inside. There were 3 other doors leading to freedom, but there was a catch. Behind the first door, there was a huge pit that would take her miles underground. Behind the second door, there was a magnifying glass that concentrated sunlight and burned everybody and everything that entered. Behind the third door, there was a hungry and dangerous lion that would eat anybody and anything that entered.
Uh-oh.
How can Kaylin escape? Kaylin should wait until sunset. When the sun goes down, the second door with the magnifying glass won't be dangerous anymore. Amelia, Belle, Chloe, and Della are identical quadruplets who always prank people. One day, one of the girls' teachers had to let Amelia leave the class early. She had a doctor's appointment, but the woman wasn't sure which girl was Amelia. The quadruplets had decided to help her. Here is what they said. Amelia is one of the girls standing in the middle. No, Amelia is one of the girls standing on the sides. I'm Amelia. I'm not Amelia. 3 girls lied and 1 told the truth. Who is Amelia? If Amelia is the first girl, then 2 girls told the truth, the second and the fourth ones. If Amelia is the second girl, then the first and the fourth girls told the truth. If Amelia is the third girl, then the first and the third ones told the truth. But if Amelia is the fourth girl, then only the second girl told the truth. So, Amelia must be the fourth girl. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. She found a witch's house, petted her black cat, and asked the witch to send her home. The witch wanted to play a game. If Esme won, she'd send her home. But if Esme lost, she'd have to stay with the witch forever.
We'll be saying numbers between 1 and 10. The next player will have to choose a number that's between 1 to 10 greater than the previous one. The first person to say 50 wins. You can start.
How can Esme win? If she wants to say 50, she needs the witch to say a number between 40 and 49. So, before 50, she has to say 39. If she wants to say 39, the witch has to say a number between 29 and 38. So, Esme has to say 28, and before that, 17, and before that, 6. So Esme must start with 6 and then say 17, 28, 39, and 50. Cassidy woke up in a dungeon and couldn't remember what happened to her. She needed to get out, but the door was locked and required a password. Can you guess what the password is? Every next number is made by moving the last digit of the previous 4 to the front. So, the password must be 4728. Mrs. Davies is an elderly lady telling a story of her life.
After I lived 1/4 of my life, I got my first car. I married 1/12 of my life later. 1/6 of my life later, I started a business. 1/4 of my life later, I got my first granddaughter. She just turned 18.
How old is Mrs. Davies? Let's say Mrs. Davies is X years old. 1/4 of her life, till she gets her first car, X is 4. Then we add 12 till her marriage. X till opening her business, 4 till the birth of her granddaughter, and finally 18 years from then till now. It should all be equal to X. If you solve this equation, you'll figure out that X is equal to 72. So, Mrs. Davies must be 72 years old. Esme was walking in the forest, and you know what? She didn't get lost this time. She knew how to get home, but the other road led to the witch's house, and the girl recently came up with a cool riddle for the witch. So, Esme decided to pay her a visit. She offered a deal. If the witch couldn't solve her riddle, Esme would get her cat. The witch agreed, and Esme gave her a square piece of paper, 4 inches by 4 inches, with a total area of 16 square inches. Turn it into a square with a total area of 8 square inches without a ruler. How can the witch do it? The witch should fold the 4 corners of the square towards the middle. This way, she'll get a square that is exactly twice as small as the original one. Apparently, the witch gets to keep her cat this time. There's a box filled with balls of different colors, 5 red ones, 8 blue ones, and 11 purple ones. Allison has a tricky task. Blindfolded, she has to keep picking up balls until she's sure that she has balls of at least 2 different colors. What's the minimum number of balls she should pull out of the box? In the worst-case scenario, Allison will be picking up balls of the same color until there are no more of them left in the box. The majority of balls are purple, so if she picks up a purple ball every single time, it'll be 11 balls. And only after that will she get a ball of a different color. So, she should pick up 12 balls.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.